Welcome to the Bronx Cheer Basketball Show. I'm your host, Nathan Callanan, and I'm joined by my co-host, Jack Lynch, coming to you from Melbourne, Australia, where it is 5:20 p.m. on Tuesday. It's not Monday.
It's Tuesday, you're right.
Tuesday, the 26th of the 1st, 2021.
One day, you're going to actually get through this introduction knowing the date and time.
Well, I wouldn't bank on that.
It's going to happen one day. Not anytime soon by the way we're trending.
Today in Australia, where we are, it's Australia Day, the 26th of January. In the basketball world, this exact date will now forever be a sad date, JL. It hadn't happened yet because our time on the 26th, it happened on the 27th, but the 1 year anniversary of Kobe Bryant's passing is on the 26th of January. And I think in the East Coast, it's like 1 a.m. now. So a few people have already started posting about it. So just a rest in peace and sad thoughts of Kobe and everyone on that helicopter, including his daughter. I'm sure there'll be many tributes on the Bronx Cheer Basketball page. So yeah, do you want to say a word for Kobe?
Thanks for beating us in 2010. We've done a full episode on him. There was a tweet that came out today that I can't remember who tweeted it, but they pretty much said, if you're wondering why there hasn't been any official tributes from the NBA teams, is that the Bryant family's asked for none. So,
okay.
Which is a bit unusual, but I suppose it would probably be a bit overwhelming for Vanessa and the family and everyone else that was, that knew someone on that helicopter. So I guess I'll stay out of it because being in the media, I'm sure this would get back to Vanessa. So I better not.
As I said just before, I think at least online everywhere, there'll be many, many tributes everywhere. It still feels like, and 2020 in a way went so long, but it went so quick. It feels like that was sort of yesterday and it's just tomorrow or today. We have a full episode about, dedicated to Kobe. And that was like our third episode ever, of course, because we only sort of started around this time last year. You can go hear us cry on that episode, and I think it's called Bryant. So go check that one out. Anyway, there's the Kobe sad stuff of the episode. On today's show, we're going to discuss the barely any news that's happened in the NBA over the past week. Stuff like Curry and Kevin Porter Jr. throwing food. It's funny how I said Curry and then Kevin Porter Jr. throwing food. That works out well.
It wouldn't be easy to throw a Curry.
No. But didn't J.R. Smith, we can get into this, but didn't J.R. Smith...
He threw a bowl of soup, didn't he?
He threw a bowl of soup. That's going to be the hardest thing to throw. So we'll get into throwing all types of liquidy foods. And we're also going to talk about my favorite team, the Philadelphia 76ers, and their MVP candidate. And we're going to talk about the hottest team in the league at the moment, the scorching Utah Jazz and their run. And we might also mention the MVP ladder, I guess, when we're talking EMVPiid.
I hate that nickname. It doesn't even make sense.
Yeah, it does. All right. It's going to be a great show. It's time for tip-off. Once again, welcome to the Bronx Cheer Basketball Show. I am joined by a guy who didn't throw... They said the food, didn't they? Or did they or not? Was it a sandwich or...
I don't actually remember reading what food it was.
I knew I was going to get tripped up over myself when I got to this point, and I still didn't, make sure that I wrote it down. But I thought that
they've just said he's throwing food. No specifics.
He looks like that type of guy. The one memory I have of Kevin Porter Jr. Is that when the Sixers last season were beating the Cavs we were up by 40, and he dunked on one of our bench players or something like that, and then did a big flex. And then I guess you can say color commentator, Ala Abdenabi, he's like, bro, you're down $1 million. That's all I have of Kevin Porter Jr. But anyway, you are not him. You don't throw food. How are you, JL?
Very well, very well. After an introduction like that, now all things going swimmingly. Jason Tatum's back in the Celtics starting lineup, so everything's coming up Millhouse.
And he scored a very smooth. Was it 24 points, 5 assists?
Yeah, I think it was 24. Yeah, so he just slotted back in comfortably. No real ill effects of the old coronavirus.
Yeah, and I won't give you too much crap, but we will mention soon that the Sixers beat the Celtics twice in the last week. It was.
Did
beautiful.
you beat the Celtics or did you beat the the main, what is it? The main Red Claws, I think is what their the G League name is.
Oh, right. Okay. Is it really?
I think it's the main Red Claws.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize. So is Maine's its own state, whereas you guys are in Massachusetts,
yeah.
But they're near each other.
Yeah, Maine's just further north.
Well, we'll get on to our fighting about the Celtics Sixers later. There was a guy named Wardell Stephen Curry who was called by his first name in that press conference. You see that? And
that was fantastic. That threw him off completely.
And he just gave him a big, anyway, Steph Curry, the greatest shooter of all time, passed Reggie Miller for second on the all-time three-point list the other day against the Jazz. It was against the Jazz like 2 days ago.
Yeah, they were down like 30 or whatever it was.
Yeah, and he
sort of took the buzz out of it.
Yeah, that sucked. But Reggie, I believe Reggie took a lot longer, JL, to
yeah. Just I mean, it shows A, how good Curry is, but B, just how the league's transcending into, 3-point shooting. I saw a stat that popped up the other day that it took Reggie Miller 1,389 games to hit 2,563s, whereas Steph hit the same amount of threes in only 715 games. Just goes to show how phenomenal he is. I think you'll agree as well, and I think everyone would agree. He's without a doubt the best shooter of all time.
He is definitely. I
and
agree.
Some people would throw like Klay Thompson into the mix, and Klay's definitely up there, but Curry's just ability to shoot off balance threes, contested threes,
all of them.
Yeah, he's just a level above. So hopefully it's not too long before he takes that record for the most number of 3-point makes of all time. He's not too far behind Ray Allen. I remember when Ray Allen passed Reggie Miller. That wasn't all. I mean, that was probably 2012, I reckon, maybe.
Yep.
Maybe. Yeah, I reckon 20. It was probably his last year in Boston, maybe the year before that. But it was against the Lakers. It was on TNT. Both teams were wearing their retro jerseys, which obviously for the Lakers and Celtics hadn't changed all that much. But Reggie Miller was commentating. The Celtics called a timeout. Ray Allen got a standing ovation, went over and had a handshake and hug from Reggie Miller. And that was such a huge moment.
Yeah.
And at the time I was like, and I'd just sort of gotten into basketball anyway, but I couldn't believe how much of an achievement that was. I was like, this is going to stand forever. We're not going to see another shooter like this. And Curry was in the league at the time, and he was just a good young shooter. And here we are a few years later where there's going to be so many players so quickly passing Ray Allen's record.
Yeah. Yeah. We were talking about it off air. Like, it is sad that, so we're probably definitely going to see Steph Curry pass Ray Allen. Ray Allen's at 2,973, I believe it is, all-time made threes, which is the top. And Steph has got pretty much 400 to catch that, which he'll do because the rate he puts him up. But as you said to me off air, the way the league has shooting more and more threes and the records for threes taken in a game by teams goes up every year, you'd think that, unfortunately, maybe if Steph is the best shooter of all time, he won't even end up with the most threes ever made.
Well, I saw a stat the other day, and it was like the fastest players to 600 career-made threes. And Lillard has the fastest, or had. I think Donovan Mitchell just took over as the fastest.
Yeah.
Lillard was second, and then third was Buddy Hield.
Yeah.
And it was Steph and Klay. And it's like, if Buddy Hield, and I don't want to disrespect Buddy Hield, but I'm going to.
Mm.
If he's already at that point, there's
Yeah.
going to be so many more players that are better shooters than he is and higher volume than him.
It's just volume.
It's just going to completely push Ray Allen down the list, Steph Curry down the list eventually.
And unfortunately, as kids grow up, they're not going to totally understand unless it's explained to them by us. We're going to be old heads. Are we old heads yet? We're 25 this year, mate.
We are getting there.
But it's not like you can because you can say that, even though Danny Green's won 3 championships with 3 different teams, and who's that other guy that has? But LeBron's won 3 finals MVPs with 3 different teams. That's sort of your just easy way to be like, okay, that's how you say it. But there's no even way. If Buddy Hield ends up as the most threes of all time, the kids are going to be like, oh, I got to look up Buddy Hield. It's a cool thing to like Buddy Hield. No, no, it's not. No. Oh, okay.
Thank God Buddy's already like 27, so he's not going to be around that much longer.
He has got the biggest front teeth smile you'll ever see in your life, Buddy Hield, in a good way.
On your Budwa. He's good. I like him. I just like talking shit about him.
I just don't like Luke Walton. All right. Bring back Dave Yeager. Don't bring him back because he's on the Sixers staff.
Big fan of the show.
Big fan. Okay.
The old Jaeger bomb.
Is that actually a nickname? Because that should be if it's not.
It must be. I think anyone with the last name Jaeger.
Kevin Porter Jr., the guy. See, when you think of the Cavs and you think of Collins, when you think of the Cavs, there's a new era that just started. And I'm going to say it's, like BC, AD, if you know your say the word for me, Catholicism. Yeah.
Yeah.
The date that the Cavs stopped being the Pistons was when they beat the Nets Big Three. Today, the Cavs took the Lakers to LeBron having a 46-point game. The Cavs are something. And when I mean something, I don't think they'll make the playoffs in the Eastern Conference, but I mean that please continue this excitement and don't hire Luke Walton because we're going to start liking the Cavs, I have a feeling.
I agree. I think, and I don't think I said it on the show, but I was talking to someone recently and I was like, I'm big on Sexton and Garland. I think those two, they started the year well. And I was like, and they're not that far out of it. It was just after they acquired Jared Allen. I was like, they've got a young center now that's showing. Yeah. And I was like, they've got a wing. What's his name? And I was like, oh, it doesn't really matter. And I was thinking about Kevin Porter Jr. because last year he showed some talent, 10, 3, and 2 as your third, fourth option as a rookie. Very fifth option. That's you take that.
Yeah.
And then a year later, it's a different story.
I think, unless I'm totally mistaken, I believe he also had some off-court issues in college.
Yeah,
that I haven't noted down. But
I've read them as well. I don't know the full scope of them, but by all means, he's a bit of a psycho. That's the only way to put it.
What I was going to get to before was that we started the new era, but pre-Nets win, pre-Nets takedown, Cavs. When you thought of the Cavs, you thought of obviously the stupid bigs and Sexton with these younger players these days all have the similar Goku hair. Sexton and Garland and Kevin Porter Jr. And Kevin Porter Jr. was always the guy, and he owns it as well with the Superman. Oh, that's a terrible with the Goku fringe drop. Is there even a word for that?
I don't know. Darren Fox pulled it off as well. I know what you're talking about.
And yeah, he's always that one. And I personally thought that while he did show talent, I preferred to get more excited about Sexton and Garland. And I think that's obviously just, naturally developed within itself, obviously with personalities. And we've ended up with Kevin Porter Jr. being unhappy because the Harden trade resulted in Taurean Prince coming to the Cavs, and they gave Taurean Prince Kevin Porter Jr.'s locker, and Kevin Porter Jr. Responded by throwing food at one of the assistant coaches. So
After apparently he was screaming at the entire team as well
yeah,
and the staff members. So went out guns a-blazing.
that's
And he was arrested for gun charges as well earlier or late last year.
there you go.
So he's just been up to a bit of mischief, old Kevin.
So the Rockets, who this is just like Bold and the Beautiful, how, Torian Prince comes from the Nets because of Harden coming from the Rockets. The Rockets get involved and they want to gamble on their future. So they picked up Kevin Porter Jr. for a protected second round pick. I didn't even know protected second round picks happen.
It'd be like top 55 protected.
Yeah.
And I've seen them before. It's literally nothing.
So he essentially got traded for a bag of chips, which is the way I made the graphic on the Bronx Cheer basketball socials. I put a bag of Doritos is what the Cavs got. A second round pick and a bag of chips.
I just can't believe that he's the third best Porter Jr. in the league. Like,
that sucks.
How many Porter Juniors have there been before the last few years?
Who's the second one?
Otto.
Oh, Otto.
And Michael Porter Jr., Otto Porter Jr., and Kevin Porter Jr. And they're not related.
Oh, shit. Otto's a funny name.
Of course they're not related. They can't all be juniors, but
God,
yeah,
Otto.
He's gone his whole life being the best Porter Junior that he knows, and now all of a sudden he's bouncing around the league. He'll be out of the league soon if nothing changes, and yeah,
I'd be angry as well. So, are we going to talk Sixers and MVP first, or Jazz first? What do you reckon?
Well, I know you're not one to delay something you love so much. You just go straight into it. So just start the Sixers talk now and I'll tune out for 5 minutes.
All right, let's do it. Well, first off, I just want to say, and sorry to all our underage listeners, but fuck you and fuck the Celtics. I hate the Celtics with all my being. And I also hate the Lakers, which I'll soon preview. The Sixers Lakers coming up in a couple of days. Joel Embiid is the number one front runner for the MVP this season. And I swear to God, I'm not being biased, but he is. The way I don't even like awards, right? I hate awards.
You always talk shit about them until they're relevant to Philly.
No. I hate awards and I still hate them because I think most sports suffer from not having some form of a best player in the league, regardless of how their season was. You know what I'm saying? Because it just needs to be more than we just acknowledge that LeBron's the best in the league, or the rankings, we just acknowledge them via ESPN Power Rankings. LeBron should get some award every year for being the best player in the league. However, the way the NBA MVP is awarded is it goes to the best player on pretty much the best team, or you've got to be near the top 3 or 4.
Top 3-4 seed, yeah.
Yeah. The Sixers are currently sitting on the top of the East, unless our sort of loss today dropped us down. But in general, we are leading the East. Joel Embiid is actually only in his 4th full season. He missed his first 2 seasons due to injury. Then in his first season coming in, he only played 30 games because whatever, and they barely played him. They never played him like clutch minutes because they were so scared of getting injured. In his first season, 17-18, the Sixers won 63 damn games because they were surrounded by shooters, right? I know that didn't go anywhere, but that was his first damn season, and Ben just totally went from like going crazy to Brad Stevens. In his second season, in his second full season, like this is how crazy it is. And I've always hated that people underrate Embiid, but now the time is now, JL. And I hope you're tuning back into me talking. Do you know?
Did you say something?
Do you know when his second full season was? It was literally that 2019 season that the Raptors won the championship. And if you tell people that, I think a lot of people actually need that slap in the face that his second full season, we took the championship Raptors barring Golden State crap, to their best series. Not the Bucks, it was us. We took them to that bounces on the rim buzzer beater by Kawhi Leonard. And in that season, it was so clear that Jimmy Butler was the guy. Last season, we went out, got rid of Jimmy Butler, his best mate, and JJ Redick, his best complementary piece. And we picked up Josh Richardson, who is not a good fit for us. Al Horford, who is the most counterproductive fit for us ever. And we paid Tobias Harris 5 years, 180 million crap. Is that right? Yeah, some shit like that. Maybe it was more. Maybe it's 280 million, whatever the shit is. No, 100. I don't know. We paid Tobias Harris the max. And therefore, if Tobias Harris is not going to have Doc Rivers to just somehow turn him into an all-star because he plays like an all-star under Doc Rivers, then he plays shit. So last season, Embiid's paint was crowded and he had no complementary pieces, pretty much. Blah, blah. You get the point of what last season was. And now, what do you know? 56% from three, Seth Curry arrives. Danny Green, who is slow as a snail, but stands and has to be respected in the corner, arrives. And Doc Rivers arrives, and I'll give Doc all his money for just turning Tobias Harris back into 45% from three Tobias Harris, because that's what's happening. 45% from three Tobias Harris. Some people, like myself, don't believe that you can actually go 1 and 4 out. You know what I mean? Like 1 and
Really?
Yeah, I think that it's better to have.
Definitely can.
Well, anyway, I think it's very nice to have someone there to help you in the paint.
Yep.
And even if you want to just say that it works, yes, we still need a creator. And I still think that'll take us to being a serious championship favorite. But in terms of talking about Joel Embiid, I just want to say to everyone, I will admit his conditioning has gotten a bit better since the last couple seasons. You can tell he's lighter on his feet. However, this is nothing new. It's just that he finally has a competent GM who surrounded him with competent shooters. And you should see, forget Tatumless games. You should see us kill all these teams because Embiid can't be contained, mate.
Oh my God.
Embiid can't be contained. And you message me about how, during the games, so many calls. This guy is a 90 center in a shooter's league. What do you expect when Daniel Tice and Tristan Thompson are your answer for Embiid? He's not only too big and great footwork, he's too wide. He's too strong. No wonder he gets
Nafe.
fouled a million times. And also, he knows how to draw the fouls as per Harden. He is the front runner, and I just don't think there's any slowing down. I think he's going to win it. And
I wish I had pen and paper and was writing down everything you were saying here.
Write it all down.
I cannot wait to see this all come crumbling down as it always does. Now, first of all, you started by saying "fuck you" to me and the Celtics.
Yes, very much.
You want to trade some meaningless regular season games in a back-to-back in Philly without Boston's best player when we've beaten you twice in the playoffs convincingly quite recently. So as far as I'm concerned, until I see you guys do anything in the playoffs, I'm not worried. The fact that Boston even kept those games close without Tatum, a 27 points per game scorer, says more about Boston being more competitive than Philly, if you know what I mean. The fact that you couldn't blow us out with a full strength roster with Mr. 56% from three, Seth Curry.
He only came in for the second one of those games.
He's going to regress back to the mean shortly. There's no way he's going to keep this up. Tobias Harris, we've seen he's not that good of a player. We've seen that time and time again. He's had one half good season when he was with LA, and now a good start to this season. It's not sustainable shooting 45% from three. We know what happened. You said Embiid's conditioning hasn't improved. That's the only thing that has improved, I think, for him.
No, I said it has.
You said it had slightly.
Yeah.
Boston's literal game plan has always been make him tired, and he does nothing in the fourth quarter. So, as far as I'm concerned, that's the only reason he's improved, is that he can run out games now.
You
And I just
surely
think-
can see, even just by watching those two games, and there's no secret to why he's just dominating every game this season. You can surely see that it's because of the shooters.
Oh, he's got more space, but his conditioning is the main. I think that's the biggest part.
Yeah, but he's not like he does. So if you actually, it's unbelievable if you go look at videos of his half first season and then his first full season, he is ridiculously more skinny. So he hasn't gone and dropped a ton of weight. It's just that he's sort of kept his build. It doesn't even look like he's lost weight, but he just somehow is lighter on his feet. Something's happened.
He's worked his aerobic capacity's improved, I think.
And not only is he happier, but he's not, and his assist numbers haven't gone up because there's a lot of hockey assists, pass out, then it gets kicked around. But he even said himself, this season, he's more willing to pass out of the double team because he knows Danny Green, Tobias, and Seth are all standing there. I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you.
I just cannot wait for the regression to the mean. He's shooting 40% from three, which isn't sustainable as well.
No, but he's also picking them. He's also picking and choosing instead of just shooting.
He's shooting 59% from the field, or from two, sorry. I just think eventually it's going to come back a little bit. And he's had a great start. But if we're going to talk about MVP, you got to look at the full season. And it's way too early to be like, Philly's a top 3 seed, they're going to win it. Oh, Embiid's going to win it. Whereas my pick for MVP so far has been Jokic. Convincingly Jokic. And they're only a game and a half out of 3rd seed. Off memory, anyway. I haven't checked that today. If they start winning, which I reckon they will, Jokic, the points, there's 1.9 points per game different at the moment. Embiid's got that. Jokic is out-rebounding him, but he's averaging 7 more assists per game. So at minimum, that's an extra 14 points per game created. You can't deny that Jokic is being more influential on the court so far this season.
I can. Yes, I can. I so can. Do you want me to say more that you would, in a hypothetical world, write down, or do you want me to hold? Because I always hold my Embiid thoughts because everyone just loves Jokic. Jokic is just. I can say more, or I can hold it to EMVPiid wins the trophy this season. Can I just ask you something though on this debate, right?
Yeah.
Before we continue with the MVP stuff, if MVPiid, I just keep going to that. If Embiid wins the MVP this season, if obviously he would have earned it, we're talking in 6 months' time.
Mm-hmm.
If he wins the MVP and they both finish in the same round of the playoffs, the Nuggets and the Sixers.
Yeah.
Yes, awards are bullshit, but he would have earned it by having a continually amazing season like he has at the start. Surely you and everyone says that Embiid is the best center in the league because he is.
If they're having the same, if he wins MVP and he proves it for a full year, then yeah, sure.
Okay,
but he hasn't done that yet.
He will.
But NBA Math tweeted recently, and they're great for just all these little tidbits. But there's a big helicopter plane going over. I don't know if that's getting through the mic. But if we're looking at offensive points added in the NBA at the moment, Nikola Jokic is number 1 by a comfortable margin. He's about 20 points more than any other player in the league right now. And if we're looking at defensive points saved, he's 3rd behind Simmons, Turner, and then it's him. Embiid's added about 60 points and saved about 15, and that's what the graph's showing me right now. Jokic's influence on a basketball game is just so much greater than Embiid's. Without a doubt. And as long as that team record starts building, which I think it will, it's his MVP to win.
But as of right now, that Embiid's if it stopped today, which it doesn't, and you can jump in and say it doesn't.
After 12 games, whatever it is.
Embiid, you would give it to Embiid, surely.
I'd give it to Jokic.
Oh, get the fuck out.
Still give it to Jokic.
They're 9-7, the Nuggets.
That's all right in a stacked West.
Oh my God. Anyway,
I'm still going for it.
Everyone can keep just. I actually don't know. I don't know if it's because he just spent so much time on Twitter in the early years, but everyone can keep trying to pick on Embiid and just try to underrate him. But as I said, this is no surprise. This is always coming, and all he ever needed was a complementary team around him. And in my opinion, and we'll see when it comes down to it in their careers, when they finish up their careers. Do you know why MJ is so talked about as so great? Because of his scoring and his defense. Embiid is a 10 times better scorer and defender than Jokic.
He's not a better scorer.
He is a better scorer.
Oh my God.
He is a better scorer. Where's the bullshit? Where's the MVP ladder this season? Jokic is playing 30. All right, we're on just under 36 minutes a game. Embiid's playing 32 minutes a game. That's 4 minutes a game. And Jokic, ball in the hands affects so much shit, is scoring 2 points less than Embiid.
I've seen him do it in the playoffs where it matters most, not getting swept. I think he's a better scorer. He's the most clutch player in the NBA. He's got the highest field goal percentage in the NBA over the last 3 seasons. If I need someone to score the ball, I'm going to him. If he had the same role in Philly as Embiid did, he'd be averaging more points per game than Embiid. No doubt in my mind.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait for the end of the season. I'm definitely marking this. I'm going to put this podcast and all the ones where we keep having the same argument. I'm going to make it huge in my files. I'm just so sick of it. Embiid, ISO scoring and defense come before playmaking in the playoffs, and we'll see that. We'll see when more so when their careers end. Right now, Tobias Harris's money that he's earning and Ben Simmons being our second best player is always going to hurt Embiid, and he's very loyal to Philly so far. But I really hope if they were to both get the paths that they deserve, Jokic and Embiid, you'd all see. you motherfuckers.
Oh, Nafe.
Okay, well, just quickly on the Sixers as well. If anyone wants to know why they're doing great, it's because of everything I just mentioned. Embiid is carrying the team. We lost to the worst team in the league today, the Detroit Pistons. You know why?
The Pistons are weirdly good for the worst team in the league. They beat the Celtics, they beat the Sixers, they beat the Suns, and who was the fourth one? It was another playoff team.
I don't know.
Their 4 wins have all come against playoff teams. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I think Jeremy Grant's a nice piece, and I don't know. But anyway, the Sixers are 0-4, and it's the same story as all the other seasons. Excuse me. Embiid, and this is how good Embiid is. We're 12-2 with Embiid, and those 2 games that he played were... One was in Atlanta where he played something like 23 minutes because we had something like, including him, something like 8 players. And I actually can't remember what the other one was, but essentially he's the best. The Sixers are doing so well because the game plan that we're top 4 in defensive rating in the league. And, Embiid's down low, and Seth Curry, Danny Green, Tobias Harris are hitting their shots outside. Shaq Milton started off clearly one of the top favorite candidates for Sixth Man of the Year. He's since slowed down a little bit, but the Sixers, for the first time in a couple of years, everything is just flowing well. And so I'm so excited. It's Sixers-Lakers in a couple of days. I don't hate the Lakers more than I hate the Celtics, but I do hate the Lakers a lot. Maybe I do. Maybe I do. So everyone should be excited about the Sixers, and you watch the second half of the season fixture come out, and we get so many more national TV games than, did you just post this stupid picture? Okay. Well, I'm not going to look at it. So we'll move on. JL,
He refuses to look at any stats.
we looked a long time. All right. The Utah Jazz are absolutely flying.
They are.
I think everyone that follows the NBA seriously has some teams that they sort of, you just sort of hope they do well. You like the way they go. Quinn Snyder's Jazz era, I have just always been so sad that the Jazz, I keep saying, the Jazz will be what the Nuggets are doing. The Jazz will be exactly that. Make the conference finals, for example. And I've said it a few times on the pod. I hope they do one year. This is only an 8-game win streak in the first quarter of the season. However, they have the pieces to do some good stuff. Steve Kerr, after the Jazz beat the Warriors the other day, quote, said, they are where we were 3 or 4 years ago. 3 or 4 years ago, the Golden State Warriors were, best team ever bullshit. That's a big call from Steve Kerr. Not that means anything in terms of...
No, I mean, it's absolutely meaningless.
But it's nice. It's nice to wake up the NBA fandom and to have a good look, because these teams up in that northwest region, then they can get a bit overlooked, the Nuggets and the Jazz and all that. I'm very happy for the Jazz. Have you caught much of them?
I've seen a few games here and there. Not as much as I would have liked. Doesn't help working all day, every day. But what I have seen, it's kind of what almost we expected. Because last year they were flying, and then they missed Bojan Bogdanovic for the bubble, if I remember correctly. And that sort of was a big hindrance for their season, because he was I don't know what he averaged with them last year, but before he got to Utah, he was like a 20 points per game scorer. So having him back in the lineup this season, going at 14 points per game, being able to shoot 38% from three or whatever he is, just increases their ability to stretch the floor. Joe Ingles in the same sort of boat, chucking in 10 points a game. So got to give him a shout out. But shooting 42% from three, Jordan Clarkson shooting 40%, Mike Conley shooting 42%, Royce O'Neal shooting 46%, Donovan Mitchell shooting 40%. They're all just hitting the three ball right now. And I think they've put the roster together to do that. And it's not really what you said before about having 4 out and 1 in the middle, because Gobert's not that offensive threat that, Prime Dwight Howard was with the 09 Magic. But they've just got guys that are all good creators, no exceptional creators. They're not having Chris Paul out there or anything like that, but they can all shoot and they can all create. Yeah. The other thing that, you just look at them and you look down the assist column, and they've got 2 guys averaging 5 assists, like 4 guys averaging 3 assists about. And they're just playing this, and it's the way Quinn Snyder's tried to play for the last few years. They're just all moving the ball really well. And I think it's about time it's finally started to click.
And Quinn Snyder has always enforced a very defensive savvy team. They're third in defensive rating. They've beaten teams in this 8-game win streak, such as the Nuggets in Denver with the high altitude. That's got to be investigated. That's why Jokic has the advantage sometimes. They've beaten the Bucks in Milwaukee. They not in the win streak, but they have beaten the Clippers as well. They've been on an 8-game win streak. That says enough for itself. They're flying. And as you said, but I think a real important thing is that Mike Conley, who they're paying $30+ million a year, who they brought in at the start of last season. Last season, he didn't make a shot. Was it a shot or a 3? One of those.
I reckon it could have been a shot.
He didn't make a shot. Definitely the whole of his first game, a field goal. Maybe it was the second game, third game, but he just in general was crap the whole year. Yeah. Not worth the $30 million. Bogdanovic wasn't there for the playoffs, but now Mike Conley is playing like Mike Conley, and he's just simply making the buckets. He's shooting a career high from 3. It's definitely career high, 42% on nearly 7 attempts, and he's also even his, what did I see before? Even his just field goal percentage or his,
Yeah, it's career high for field goal percentage as well.
yeah. And his 2-point percentage is even 51%. All career highs for Conley, not to mention, as he said, 6 assists per game, getting up to his near career high for that. Mike Conley's playing like Mike Conley. And then you got Donovan Mitchell, who's one of the up and coming stars of the NBA. He's shooting 40% this season, and his numbers in the 8-game win streak have been even better. Something like 26 points or 7 points per game in the win streak, but he's doing 24 on the season. He's shooting. The only thing that's really gone up in terms of his usage is 3-point attempts, and he's shooting nearly 7 attempts at 40%, which I think I just mentioned. But
he's flying.
Things aren't even really going that much up in usage rate for Donovan. It's just that, as you said, the whole team, like before Bogdanovic got there, Ingles was starting and being the Bogdanovic, but it's such a luxury to have Ingles 42% from 3 coming off the bench while you've got, is it Brogdon or Bogdan?
Bojan Bogdanovic.
Bojan. So I really hope this keeps up. They are 12-4, which is 1 game back of the Lakers record, but they haven't played 2 games that the Lakers have played. So the Lakers are on 14-4. They could beat that record if they win their 2 in hand. The Clippers are also on a 7-game win streak, but we don't talk about the Clippers.
No, we don't like the Clippers. What are your thoughts been on their whole Shaq and Donovan Mitchell beef?
Well, I think like everyone, it just, there comes a point, and maybe the producer, I don't know, everyone's talking about it. So that may be a win. And I know they're an award-winning show and most people enjoy them, but that part is, I think they might, tell Shaq and Charles Barkley to sort of cool that a bit. The whole
Chuck's been fine. Shaq's just
Shaq always.
I hate so much in any sport when old heads start going on about how it was better in my time.
Yep.
And it happens it's such a perfect cycle where a player hits their peak, slowly comes down from it, sees guys get better than them, then they retire. They talk about how good the guys that overtook them are. But as soon as those guys then become out of the league, then everything's like, nah, it was better in my day. We wouldn't lose to these guys.
Yeah, Shaq is all about,
Oh, and like the fact that, Shaq is so insecure, and I don't know why. He's got like one of the best basketball resumes of all time. But the fact that he uploaded a photo on Instagram of him dunking on Rudy Gobert, and then someone jokingly made a Donovan Mitchell dunking on Shaq Instagram post, and Shaq messages the guy on Instagram being like, delete this, you fool, blah, 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 talking shit, and trying to challenge him to a game of one-on-one saying, I'll beat your ass. It's like, I just lost for words at how a guy worth $500 million before NBA championship rings can just be like so worried about a team based in Utah and what, how he always just talks shit about Rudy Gobert earning more than Shaq did in his entire career, I'm pretty sure, for his upcoming contract.
Yeah.
Averaging 12 points per game. And it's like, it's just a different world. And Shaq's just, he's always turning down that path.
I mean, especially because of how similar they are. Yeah, Embiid and Shaq. Embiid's Shaq and even Barkley, but as you're saying, Shaquille O'Neal is always on Embiid's back on the show, trying to say, you should be averaging this and that, and it does. It gets old and it gets annoying, and it's sometimes you have to ask yourself, where does it take the sort of conversation? What are they going to say? Oh, thanks, coach. Like many people have responded on social media, these pros, I think KD might have said it.
KD and LeBron both piped up. Yeah.
These pros have got like what, 10 plus coaches talking in their ear, telling them you got to do better, blah, blah. This is what you got to do. They don't really give one shit about what Shaq has to say. No. So no,
there was a good thing came out today. I can't remember where it was on, maybe the Zach Lowe podcast. And whoever was the guest on the show was like, I'm surprised Shaq's doing this, because when he was young in the league, Bill Walton was talking shit about Shaq being like, you're no good, you're not winning. And apparently Shaq took that to heart and was genuinely upset by it at the time.
Yeah.
And you would think you would learn from that and be like, you know what? Unless Shaq's trying to be like, I'm going to make him into a better player. But it just makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah.
I just don't get it.
Like if you want, like I'm always the type to just more so not really reach out, or I guess, or say something. But if he's going to, why does it have to be on national television? You know, it's just grow up in a way, you know.
When just in terms of like old heads just talking shit, we always hear how the 90s was the best time for basketball and how, you know, it was physically tough and the better players and like the players these days couldn't handle it. And LeBron would be no good in the 90s. I hear that all the time. But I saw a good quote from Wilt Chamberlain, you know, in the 90s, and he was like, "Oh, I think this basketball was weak." And he goes, when I was playing, you know, we worked so much harder and way more skillful, and it wasn't based on athleticism. It was, you know, we put in the effort, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, why do people get so defensive about their generation?
Yeah.
Like, surely as a general rule, and I think this with every sport, I think the league gets better every year pretty much.
Yeah, I would agree.
I think the best players of each generation are at quite a similar level, but the worst players get better every year, if that makes sense.
Yep.
And I think the league now would dominate teams from not that long ago.
We don't have to get into it too much, but totally agree. Whatever sport, as you say, whatever sport, I don't weigh into too many GOAT debates in all sports, but one thing I do say is that, just for example, who you're taking, like
Jaylen Brown,
who you're taking against. So let's just go, just for example, like LeBron. Is LeBron against the $20 million defenders of today, or LeBron against the guys who had to have an actual day job, you know?
The milkmen and the plumbers.
Yeah, the milkmen and the plumbers. And that's just one quick example of what I always sort of bring up. And I don't even say my opinion, or I don't even think too much about it. I just think that these guys have got nutritionists, dietitians, physiologists, you know, sports scientists,
They're not playing in Converse All-Stars.
Yeah, crafting their every move, watching their sleeping patterns, all this shit. So you just gotta, you gotta at least accept that the money and the science is always advancing in terms of forward in time. But yeah, so just to clarify, for anyone who actually hadn't heard or seen the Shaq and Donovan Mitchell thing, the Jazz had just beaten was it the Warriors? No.
I was going to say the Bucks off memory.
Not sure, but
maybe. It doesn't really matter who it was.
They just won on TNT. Shaq says, he starts like saying to Mitchell, "Hey Donovan, I was just saying before that I don't believe that you're good enough to take the next level." And he just sort of didn't even finish, and then he sort of and then Mitchell's like, all right, Shaq. What do you want me to say? What do you want me to say? So that was the awkward as ugly moment of that TNT broadcast. JL, I think we've gone for long enough.
I think so. In a very underwhelming week.
That's right. We're going to get back into some games starting next week. I won't hit you with a random food debate today.
I thought we were going to do some curry versus soup. What's easy to throw? The viscosity of curry would make it a bit easy to get a bit of purchase on a throw, I reckon. But maybe soup's more aerodynamic. But
we did hit it was our 1 year birthday on, what day was it? It was it's the 23rd.
The 23rd, wasn't it?
Yeah. So
Saturday.
Yeah, so 3 days ago or whatever. Thank you all.
I still haven't got a present.
Oh,
I thought you were going to get me a little anniversary present, but
I'll get you one. I'll get you a slab of Guinness or whatever. But yeah, thank you to everyone who supported us along this way. It's just the beginning. It's been a great ride so far, and we're just going to keep getting bigger and bigger and expanding onto different things and more fun. JL?
Nice.
You know, you can find us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You keep up with the Bronx Shoe Basketball and any of those?
I don't really use any socials except for Twitter. So
all right,
there's my That's my excuse for not liking all your posts.
You can see JL sometimes liking or retweeting the posts of the Bronx on Twitter. Check us out there, Instagram, Facebook. Also subscribe wherever you are, YouTube. Recommend the show to a friend. You know, they always love hearing about a couple of...
I showed Grandma.
Yeah,
I showed her our faces on YouTube, and she couldn't believe it.
Did you put it on like a TV or something as well?
No, so we just during lockdown we got her an iPad because she couldn't go to mass, and we were getting mass on YouTube for us. I told her how to use that. She's picked it up pretty well for an 87-year-old woman. But yeah, I typed in the Bronx cheer and she couldn't believe it. She thought I was famous, but I think the video had 2 views. I think she was the 3rd.
Oh, well, I'm sure she's going to be one of our biggest fans. Good old Grandma.
Shout out to Ness.
And also, yeah, just stay tuned and we'll talk to you next week. Thanks, JL.
My pleasure. We'll see you soon.